Okay, let's unpack this because, wow, projections are showing the Bitcoin market rocketing from, what, $27.1 billion this year
Yeah.
to potentially $220.3 billion by 2033. I mean, that kind of expansion, we're talking compound annual growth over 26%.
Hmm.
That's not just a blip, is it?
Absolutely not. Those figures, they really highlight a fundamental shift happening in how financial systems are evolving, and Bitcoin's clearly a major force behind that.
Exactly. And that's precisely the ground we want to cover today. We've got this material, Bitcoin plus everyone.pdf, as our guide, really.
Hmm.
And the goal is to properly understand Bitcoin, not just the buzzwords, but its actual impact, its potential,
Hmm.
especially if, you're listening and running a business or thinking about investments, or maybe you're just fascinated by where tech is heading.
Right.
We want to give you those insights without, hopefully, overwhelming you.
Yeah, exactly. For anyone tuning in, trying to sort of make sense of this digital landscape, trying to figure out what it means for your work, maybe your investments, this is really about cutting through the noise, getting a clearer picture.
So let's get down to it then. What is Bitcoin really at its core? Because it's definitely more than just another digital payment method, right?
Oh, much more. It's a whole technological movement, really challenging the old ways of finance.
Think back to 2009. The mysterious Satoshi Nakamoto releases Bitcoin, but also, crucially, the technology underneath it, blockchain.
That shared open ledger, basically, a transparent record book for every single Bitcoin transaction, it was and still is pretty revolutionary.
Totally. And initially, I remember it really grabbed the tech folks, the libertarians, people interested in decentralized ideas.
Yeah, those who were maybe skeptical of central authorities looking for alternatives, taking power away from the middleman, so to speak.
Right, started out kind of niche.
Yeah.
But look now, it acts like digital money, sure, but people see it as an investment asset too. And it's this whole system for global transactions without needing the traditional banks in the middle. That's a huge shift.
And the scale is just, well, consider this. Over 100 million active Bitcoin wallets globally now.
Wow.
That's a massive number of people actually using it, engaging with the technology directly.
And it's not just individuals testing the waters anymore, is it? You've got huge companies, Tesla, Square, MicroStrategy, putting serious company money into Bitcoin.
Big bets.
And then a whole country, El Salvador, makes it legal tender. These aren't just small experiments. It really signals this growing belief in its long-term place.
And from a business angle, what's really interesting is seeing how Bitcoin starts to disrupt those standard financial processes, that heavy reliance we've always had on banks as the central hub for every transaction. Bitcoin offers a different model, decentralized.
Exactly. And the potential savings for businesses, that's pretty eye-opening. Deloitte's projecting companies could save billions collectively by 2030.
Billions, yeah. By using Bitcoin and, other cryptos. Think about cutting down those transaction fees or being able to reach new customers directly.
It addresses some real pain points, doesn't it? Those delays you get with international payments.
Oh, yeah, the waiting.
The hefty bank fees, sometimes the whole currency conversion headache. Bitcoin offers a way around a lot of that.
It's a much more streamlined alternative for many of those old processes.
It basically lets businesses take payments from almost anyone, anywhere, and often settle things almost instantly. That kind of global reach, it really levels the playing field, especially for international trade. Opens up markets that were just harder to get into before.
And think about financial inclusion, too. In places where getting traditional banking services is tough or maybe unreliable,
Right.
Bitcoin can be a lifeline.
Yeah.
An alternative way for businesses to operate, connect with customers, and just, drive economic activity.
That's huge for reaching people who are unbanked or underbanked. It creates totally new ways for them to participate in the economy.
And it's not just about payments either. Bitcoin's actually sparking new business models.
Like what?
Well, things like microtransactions making tiny payments feasible, or tokenizing assets, creating digital versions of ownership for things, and smart contracts, which are like agreements that run themselves automatically when conditions are met.
Okay, so these aren't just small tweaks. They're fundamental changes in how businesses can operate, making things more efficient, adaptable,
And globally connected, exactly.
So if we look at the concrete problems businesses face day to day, those high transaction fees from banks, for example, they really add up, right?
They absolutely do, especially for doing a lot of transactions. It eats into your profit margin.
Bitcoin transactions, though, can drastically cut those fees, sometimes get rid of them almost entirely. And then there's fraud, always a worry.
Always. But the blockchain tech itself provides pretty robust security. Well, every transaction gets logged on that public ledger, and it's designed to be basically impossible to tamper with. That makes fraud much, much harder.
Okay, that makes sense. And for businesses in, say, developing regions where maybe the banking system isn't so stable or accessible?
Bitcoin's decentralized design gives them a level of financial independence. They can transact directly peer-to-peer without needing those traditional banks. That's incredibly empowering, especially if the local economy is shaky.
And that whole complex, often expensive currency exchange process for international trade.
It just kind of evaporates with Bitcoin.
Right.
Yeah, it removes that whole layer, makes international deals faster and cheaper.
We're even seeing companies start to use Bitcoin internally, right? For workforce stuff.
Yeah, some are starting to use it for payroll, especially for international employees. Think about the efficiency win there.
Makes total sense. Paying people faster, cheaper, across borders, especially with so many remote global teams now.
And some really forward-thinking places are even looking at putting Bitcoin into compensation packages, maybe even retirement plans.
Interesting. As a recruitment tool.
Partly, yeah. It can attract talent that's already into this tech, but it's also about offering new kinds of financial incentives,
Whoa.
modernizing their finances.
So it's modernizing operations,
Yeah.
maybe boosting employee satisfaction by offering more flexible, efficient payment options.
Definitely potential there. But, and this is important, getting into Bitcoin as a business isn't something you just jump into feet first.
Right. Needs planning.
Yeah, careful planning, a solid strategy. You really need to think it through.
Businesses have to figure out, okay, how does Bitcoin actually fit our operations? What are the real use cases where it helps us? What are our needs, our risks?
And practically speaking, you'll likely need to update your financial systems, your accounting, to handle Bitcoin properly.
And training. Can't forget that.
Oh, crucial. Comprehensive training so everyone understands how to use it safely, effectively.
And the whole regulatory side. Navigating the legal stuff, compliance, that's huge.
Absolutely paramount. You need to know the rules.
Plus, promoting it if you accept it, setting up secure wallets to hold it, picking reliable payment gateways to process it.
Exactly. You need the infrastructure.
And it's not set and forget, is it? You have to keep watching Bitcoin's performance, the market shifts, how it's impacting your business day to day.
Constant vigilance, really. You need to stay informed, adapt your strategy as things change, which kind of loops back to needing that foundational knowledge.
Right.
The Bitcoin Plus Everyone certification material, for instance, really gets into these core ideas, like its decentralized nature, nobody owns or controls it.
And the benefits that flow from that, like better financial governance, less reliance on those middlemen.
Which helps explain why the transaction costs can be lower. It's not magic, it's the system design.
And understanding the history helps too, doesn't it? The Genesis block, that first ever block, Satoshi's original vision. Even the fact it's designed to be scarce with that fixed supply. The deflationary aspect.
Yeah, the cap supply is key. The certification also touches on some of the, let's say, broader conversations around Bitcoin.
Like the environmental concerns.
Exactly, the energy use debate, but also its positive potential in things like remittances sending money home across borders cheaper, or for charity, or even just as a long-term savings tool.
And then it gets into the nuts and bolts, how it actually works.
Yeah.
That blockchain tech again, the distributed ledger idea, digital signatures for security, proof of work.
Proof of work, yeah. The process miners use to validate transactions and add them to the chain. Understanding that is key to understanding Bitcoin's security model.
And the different roles within the network.
Yeah.
Nodes and things.
Right. The different types of nodes. You've got full nodes keeping the whole history, light nodes that are more lightweight, and mining nodes doing that validation work. They all work together to keep the network running securely.
Okay. And if you actually want to use Bitcoin, step one is getting a wallet, right?
Absolutely. And the material covers the different kinds software wallets on your computer or phone, hardware wallets, which are generally seen as more secure.
Like a little USB device.
Exactly. Then you've got mobile wallets for convenience, even things like paper wallets, though they're less common now, and web wallets.
And security for those wallets is obviously critical.
Hugely critical. Understanding your seed phrase, those recovery words, is non-negotiable. That's your ultimate backup.
Like the master key.
Pretty much. And using things like two-factor authentication, 2FA, just adds another vital layer of protection against someone getting unauthorized access.
Okay, so you've got a wallet. Then comes the practical stuff. Buying it, selling it, using it.
Right. The certification explains where you can get. Bitcoin exchanges are common, peer-to-peer platforms, even some ATMs now.
And then what you can do with it. Daily purchases where it's accepted, donations, maybe as part of your investment portfolio.
How to convert it back to regular money, like dollars or euros, when you need to. And it even touches on taxes, which, let's be honest, can be complicated.
Oh, yeah.
But throughout all that, the emphasis is always on security first and being aware of market risks. It's volatile.
Definitely. And that security piece, it deserves hammering home, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The material covers best practices, strong, unique passwords, always using 2FA, being careful online to avoid scams, phishing, malware.
Basic cyber hygiene, but applied to crypto.
Exactly. And more specific things too, like storing your private keys offline, maybe using one of those hardware wallets we mentioned.
Keeping the keys off the internet entirely.
Right, and just being smart about recognizing scams, social engineering attempts, people trying to trick you into giving up your keys or your Bitcoin. Simple things help too, like using different email addresses, checking your accounts regularly.
Makes sense. Shifting gears a bit to the economics, it's a really interesting model. That fixed supply, 21 million coins ever.
And the halving events, where the reward for mining gets cut in half periodically.
Right, it's pre-programmed scarcity. Totally different from regular currencies governments can just print more of.
Yeah, the whole deflationary design. The idea is that scarcity could drive value up over time if demand keeps growing. Plus, economically, its ability to make cross-border payments faster and cheaper is a big deal.
Especially for financial inclusion, like we said.
Definitely. But you have to balance that with the investment side, the potential for big gains, but also big losses because of the price swings.
Yeah, the volatility is real.
And you need to understand market sentiment, what's driving prices, and, crucially, the regulatory environment, which is always changing.
Yes, the legal and regulatory side. It's kind of a patchwork globally, isn't it?
Very much so. The certification gives an overview. Some countries embrace it, some restrict it, some ban it outright. It varies wildly.
And for businesses using it, things like KYC and AML, know your customer, anti-money laundering, those rules are vital to follow.
Absolutely critical for compliance. You don't want to fall foul of the law.
And you need to be aware of the different regulatory bodies, like the SEC in the US or FINMA in Switzerland. Know the tax rules in your jurisdiction. Keep good records.
It's essential homework for any business involved, and you have to keep up to date because the rules can change fast.
Looking ahead then, what's the future potential looking like? Seems like there's still a lot of development happening.
Oh yeah, tons. Tech advancements are constantly aiming to improve it, tackle limitations.
Like making transactions faster or cheaper.
Exactly. Things like the Lightning Network are focused on that. Then you have Schnorr signatures and Taproot, which aim to improve privacy and efficiency on the network. Lots of innovation.
And despite challenges regulations, volatility, the adoption trend seems pretty clear, right? More individuals, more institutions getting involved.
Yeah, the overall direction seems to be towards wider acceptance. And the conversations about its potential are huge. Could it reshape banking, boost financial inclusion globally, even become some kind of global reserve asset?
Big questions.
Big questions being actively debated.
There's a bottleneck, right? The source material points this out as skills gap. Not enough people who actually understand this stuff deeply.
That is a significant hurdle, yeah. There's a real shortage of professionals who have the expertise to properly implement and manage Bitcoin technology within businesses.
And that slows things down.
It definitely can. It hinders development, makes adoption harder and slower than it could be.
Okay, so that's where something like AI Certs fits in. They're trying to fix that.
Exactly. They're directly addressing that skills gap, offering specialized training to get people and teams up to speed with the knowledge and the practical skills they need for Bitcoin.
Bridging the gap, basically.
Precisely. Helping to accelerate adoption, fuel more innovation by getting more people properly trained.
And it's not just about having one or two Bitcoin gurus in the company, is it? The material stresses training across the board.
Right. It's about creating a kind of Bitcoin-ready culture. Ongoing training, upskilling in different departments, finance, IT, legal, marketing maybe.
So everyone understands their piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. Role-based certifications help here, making sure employees get the knowledge relevant to their job. That fosters better collaboration, more innovation across the company.
So it empowers individuals, but also makes the whole organization stronger and better equipped to actually use Bitcoin well.
Yeah. And the AI Certs approach seems focused on making these complex topics understandable for more people, encouraging continuous learning, sharing knowledge internally.
Okay, so wrapping this up. It seems pretty clear Bitcoin is more than just a trend. It's a transformative technology. Adoption is growing fast across industries. It really could reshape finance and business.
Definitely. We've seen how it can cut costs, boost efficiency, open up totally new opportunities because it's decentralized and global.
So for you listening, it's really worth thinking about how this applies to you, maybe for personal investing, maybe for your business strategy, or maybe just understanding this shift in the financial world.
And if you do want to go deeper, get practical skills, that Bitcoin Plus Everyone certification from AI Certs looks like a solid resource, covers the foundations, security regulations, the key stuff.
And you can check that out on their website, which is www.icerts.io. That's AICERTS.io. A good starting point to get Bitcoin ready.
Because ultimately, Bitcoin is playing a bigger and bigger role in shaping where business and finance are headed. Understanding it, maybe even embracing it, could be a real advantage going forward.
The future of business belongs to those who understand and utilize Bitcoin. Let's navigate that future together.